Successful adaptations of video games have been a very difficult thing to do. Mind you, there have been very few exceptions that have gone on to make popular or pop culture references in other things. Let's think about Resident Evil, for example. That is one of the very few game adaptations that kind of steamrolled onto different platforms and became an utter success. I'm not mentioning the other films, but that very first film really did kind of steamroll onto the scene and actually showed people that you could essentially make a fairly good game adaptation movie. Now, if we look at more recent years, we can stop and think about a few properties here and there that we kind of don't like or don't really agree with. Me personally, to my own, detriment, unfortunately, the Uncharted film was not to my expectations. I adore the Uncharted games. Those games are probably some of my favorite games I've ever played. I would replay those games in a heartbeat over and over just because the story elements are great, the music is amazing, you feel, enveloped by what you are seeing, and you just want to go on that adventure. You want to continue that adventure along with Nathan Drake. But the movie didn't really stand to that testament. It didn't live up to the very thing that I wanted it to live up to. And to me, that kind of sucks because I really wish it would have been a better film. Now, I'm giving you guys an example of a fairly average adaptation of a video game. Now, if we're going to talk about great adaptations to video games, I can give you the most recent and most accurate and to the point and almost to every aspect, almost perfect to the most minute detail, and that is the Fallout series on Prime. Now, listen, I haven't finished the series yet. I have made it to 2 episodes, and that's about it. But everything I have watched so far, I have loved. Now, just giving you guys a little sneak peek, if I am able to finish this after filming this video, I will make it my next video in this channel. So, just a little sneak peek. If that is the case, I will make it my next video. But everything that I've seen so far from Fallout the series has been absolute perfection. Perfection. Everything. From the characters, the look of the actual show, the banter that you see between people, the suits, costume design, set design, everything has been to the frickin' T. And I think Jonathan Nolan has literally been killing it. Now, I'm telling you all of this, all of these little ins and outs, because I want to give you guys a frame of reference as to what I consider to be a classic or a not so good adaptation or a great adaptation, so that you guys can get sort of like, a measurement of how I see things. But what is the next big video game adaptation that we still have not gotten in some sort of media form? Or is it, a TV show or a movie? So what are those properties that we are still waiting to see to be an actual active part of media or pop culture in a big way? And that is why I'm making this today. So what are the 4 properties that I think, mind you, my opinion here, but what are my opinions on what are the 4 necessary stories that need to be told in media form. And let's start off with the most obvious choice, and that is BioShock. BioShock has been around for a very long time now. I mean, it's been past maybe 15, almost 15 years, or 12 years now, that BioShock released. So it has been a while since we had BioShock come out. You know, Fallout was kind of like a similar thing. It's been out for a while now. A whole lot longer than BioShock, mind you. But BioShock has been around for a while now. And I think it's about time we get some form of movie for this specific property. Now, we've already heard rumors, and I say we as the collective public, we have seen already other people talk about a BioShock property. We've heard of directors already attached to BioShock the movie, and a lot of people have stepped away from this property because they don't want to, they don't want to miss out or do something wrong with this property, and I get it. I mean, the story is very enveloping. The setting can be a more complicated issue to deal with because it pretty much takes place underwater 99.9% of the time of the game, if we don't count the very first, say, 5 minutes of BioShock. The other 99.9% of the game takes place underwater, in a city underwater. So things become a little bit more complicated, and I understand why they would back away from the property, but it is definitely something that we need in a media form. And if you think so, put that in the comments below, because I will have that discussion with you. Now, not straying too far from the whole Bethesda, Fallout situation, another Bethesda title that still needs some form of media is definitely Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls obviously would be competing with some more heavy hitters, that being, Lord of the Rings, or competing with something like The Witcher, or even competing with, the big heavy hitter himself, House of Dragons, aka Game of Thrones. So that is definitely kind of hard. I get it. It's probably going to be really tough to put in an Elder Scrolls in there. And I think Todd Howard has already said that he has denied that he would ever put something like Skyrim or Elder Scrolls as a whole on TV. He hasn't completely thrown that away. But I can understand why he has been hesitant, because there are already shows that kind of cover the same topic. If you put out something like, House of Dragon, which is, Game of Thrones related, or if you put out something like, Wheel of Time, which is also a more fantasy realm kind of show, these are all very similar topic shows. So I understand why he would be hesitant, but I think it would be really interesting to see something in the Elder Scrolls realm, maybe following the story of a Dovahkiin, sort of like in Skyrim, or kind of like introducing us to 3 different characters, and being a part of that world would be very interesting to kind of see the dynamics play out in an Elder Scrolls style show, because I feel like I'd be way more inclined to watch an Elder Scrolls show than I am a Lord of the Rings show. Not because I don't like Lord of the Rings, but because I'm not familiar with the source material. If you're someone who's familiar with Lord of the Rings, you're more than likely to watch Lord of the Rings related things. So if I'm more familiar with Elder Scrolls, then I'm more, familiar with the source material, hence I would watch that. So that's why I would say Elder Scrolls is definitely something that we would definitely like to see on TV. Now, the next 2 titles that I am going to mention here are PlayStation titles. So I'm already going to narrow that down to like half of, the console generation. So most people who talk about games or agree with the fact that specific consoles have better games I'm not here to have those discussions, but ultimately speaking, PlayStation tends to have the better stories. So why not go after one of the bigger stories that they have? They still haven't made any sort of physical thing yet, but even though we still have heard things about this specific property, that is God of War. Yeah, God of War would be a very interesting title to see come out in some form on, TV or even in movie form, because this would be a very interesting, dynamic, because there is no other God of War style show on TV. You could probably put him up with, something that's more super heroic, or put him up against something more Nordic, but it wouldn't sit there. Ultimately, all these things that we see in God of War are in some way, shape, or form connected to Norse mythology. And that is something that's really cool, because we get to explore these different characters in different times. And I mean, God of War has also dabbled in other areas as well. I mean, heck, he's also dabbled a little bit in Greek mythology as well, but it's very Norse mythological. So you have your Thors, you have, different characters from Norse mythology, you have this very strong relationship that, Kratos has with his son. So, I mean, all these little aspects make for a fantastic story that can be played out in movie form or even in a series. So, I don't know what they're waiting for, but God of War would be a really cool addition to the media landscape. And finally, on my list here of 4 properties, the last, and certainly not the least of this list, is a very new property. A property that has been around for, say, less than 7 years now, and has definitely made an impact when it comes to storytelling as a whole, and that is Horizon. Horizon has been around now for a little bit, so I do think that with all the different storylines, the characters, the setting in and of itself would be very interesting to explore in a series format. Kind of follow around Aloy in this incredible world, being able to, get a new perspective, because with a show, you end up getting a different perspective of the world you are seeing. So, good example, Fallout. Fallout, typically, if you're playing the game, you're going to see one perspective. With the Fallout series, you're getting 3 different perspectives, and you're also adding on to the lore of the actual game and, building its own path forward, should I say. So I think it would be really interesting to see something around Horizon, having a TV series, something that could, be a 12-episode series that kind of explores Aloy and the world that Aloy is in. Probably show people the difference between, how it was pre-war to how it is now. Kind of draw those comparisons. Talk about a little bit about how AI can impact humanity. All these little aspects of what a Horizon show could put out would be really interesting. And actually start a discussion here about artificial intelligence and how we should protect our environment. All these things can be put into a Horizon style show, and I think most people would agree it would be pretty darn cool to see those huge mechs, in live action, and that would be very fun. So these are the 4 properties I think that would make a huge impact in media, that could actually add something to pop culture in a way, and could eventually make, TV something more enjoyable for gamers as well. I mean, take it from me, some series come out, like sometimes a show comes out that I'm not really, into, this could be an opportunity for people to actually see something based on a property that they like. So whether you're a fan of Elder Scrolls, or Bioshock, or Horizon, or God of War, this could be your opportunity to actually sit down and enjoy a show based on a property that you like. Now, again, this is all my opinion, and whatever specific property that you love and you would love to see in TV or movie form, go down in the comments below and tell me, because I love having these discussions with you. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos go live on this channel.